60 years ago, artist Ian Fairweather set off on an epic journey from Darwin to Indonesia on a homemade raft. In celebration of Fairweather's life and art, students from Malak Primary School have launched a book of poetry and paintings inspired by the artist. Genevieve Hussey reports.
He's recognised as one of Australia's great modern painters. Ian Fairweather spent a lifetime immersed in his art.
Well, how do you spend your time?
I paint, damn it.
There's no doubt that he is really one of the most significant artists to ever have worked in Australia. He was really very influential upon a whole generation of artists.
His work now sells for in the 2 or 3 millions, and these are works that were often painted on newspaper or cardboard and often with materials that are falling apart a little bit. Of his lifetime's output, there are only about 550 works known to exist. He was the sort of person who would tear things up or leave things behind if he wasn't happy with them, and he was very rarely happy with them.
Fairweather was a sensational artist. He inspired a lot of people, including us.
Now Ian Fairweather's life story is serving as an inspiration to children at Malak Primary School. These students have spent the past month writing poetry and painting artwork inspired by the famous artist.
We've learned a little bit about an amazing character, being Ian Fairweather, and how can we write poetry and sort of describe him, his life, his personality in words, and then also show it through our artwork also. So that was really exciting. The kids loved it.
I did curves because the way he was reflecting on his feelings, and I drew a picture of him in a sad face because he was always sad and depressed.
44 kids wrote a poem and illustrated that poem with jewel-like paintings. They're really magnificent paintings. The kids have understood the history of Fairweather. They've learnt a lot about him, but they've also, in their hearts, they've understood loneliness. They've understood the desire to just keep painting at all costs.
The school project culminated in a book of the children's poetry and art that was launched with a poetry reading at the Wordstorm Festival this week.
Ian was quiet and never caused a riot. Ian was old and sometimes cold. He had amazing artwork which he painted, and while on the raft he almost fainted.
Ian Fairweather was a unique person, and to me he was interesting to me. At first I thought he was a bit weird and kind of crazy, but and then now I think that he's really determined to be to places that he really wanted to be.
Huts like black insects straddle the decayed hill, nudging the chrome of Francis Bay.
DAEL ALLISON has written her own tribute to Fairweather, a book of poetry. She says her interest in the artist began at an early age.
He's fascinated me since I first learnt about him at school, partly because his abstract art was quite difficult for me to understand, and I could never understand why he was considered one of our greatest modern artists.
His works do present a bit of a challenge sometimes to collectors due to their condition, and sometimes they're not as pretty and as easy on the eye as some other perhaps great Australian artists. But I think that there's a very devoted segment of the arts community and also the general public who really love and connect with his works.
Today in Darwin, links to Ian Fairweather's time in the city remain, with a walk named in his honour along the coast. It was from these beaches that he set off 60 years ago on an epic journey, a voyage on a homemade raft to the Indonesian island of Roti.
He took a raft that he made from flotsam and jetsam and an old parachutes from the tip, and he got some aeroplane fuel drop tanks that he used as floats. He slung it all together and then he took off with a minimal amount of food and disappeared.
I made this raft with sticks.
In homage to Fairweather's amazing voyage, which ended when he washed up on the shore of Roti, the Malak school children have built their own versions of his homemade craft, and they've come to the spot where he set off.
It's like a tribute to Ian Fairweather and how he sailed across the seas to try and get to the place he loved. Yeah, we had to do diagrams first and then we had to make a raft. Alone, depressed, nowhere to go. When wanting life to go fast, life went slow. Torn away from family, what's right, what's not. And wanting the day to turn cold, the day turned hot.
After a poetry reading, the rafts are ready to launch. It's a recreation of an epic journey that it's hoped will continue to inspire new generations.
I want to see some poets come out of Malak, and painters and historians maybe, and boat builders. These are kids often with quite difficult backgrounds, but by engaging with Fairweather, he'll stay in their minds forever. And that idea that you can just keep trying until you achieve what you want to, I hope that will stay in their minds as well.
Genevieve Hussey reporting.